our Christmas crackers. Oh look, we've landed back at Siege again. By now I think we're past the need for introductions. I think we get that its whole MO is to take us back to the core of 1984, when everything was clear-cut and uncomplicated and Transformers only meant one thing, and to put out some properly good updated versions of its most beloved characters for the 21st century. What a concept! Bring back G1, they cry on the message boards. Bitch. G1 never left. But, you know, I get it. The original Transformers is just pure retro bliss, and it just has that undeniable evergreen appeal. Besides, new people are coming on board all the time, and for new collectors, Siege is wonderful. They're good toys, bruh. But when you're a seasoned old hand, there's only so many times you want to buy a new Optimus Prime, or Megatron, or Bumblebee. Wait, there's no Bumblebee. But it's a whole different game when there's a new Starscream in town. Because Starscream's not just your normal, bankable, wildly popular character. He's also the reigning ruler of repaints, and has been from day one. I mean, any given Starscream could rack up like 20 recolors and nobody would even bat a null ray. Starscream repaints are such a huge thing in Transformers, they've got a friggin' nickname. Have you seen Cyberverse? So you can imagine how hard I rolled my eyes when Siege Starscream was revealed. Because not only are they retreading G1 again, they're also going to try and root me into reliving my love affair with the classic Seekers, which is like one of the defining pillars of my collecting journey, and one of my most embarrassing consumerist spasms, title of my memoir. Like, I bought every version of this thing I possibly could. Sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, plus some fake ones and the insultingly overpriced latter-day exclusives. I even began this very YouTube series with a factory sample acid storm I imported off the internet to try and wrangle some pre-release clout like a loser. I love eBay and I love Singapore. So I've been buying this thing from pretty much the moment I got into collecting, right up until just now. And now they want me to do it all again? Yeah, right. So I decided straight away I'd maybe just get the Skywarp and put it in my dedicated Skywarp display cabinet with all my other Skywarps. Good in it. But otherwise, no thank you. There's no chance you're gonna get me to reinvest in Starscream and all his mates again, and at a Voyager price point, jog on. Anyway, here's a review about all 7 of them. So, it'd be rude not to begin with Starscream himself, seeing as the whole recurrent Seeker phenomenon's basically his fault for being so damn enduring, because you gotta recognise the absolute royalty that Starscream is, both within Transformers and in the wider nerd sphere. He's just a powerhouse of pop culture and poster boy for all that is shit-headed. And he's looking extremely sharp as his most authentic self in pre-Earth native Cybertron style. Luxuriating in relentless siege detail and voluminous Voyager height, he is an absolute feast. Bod's got the classic canopy costume, just fizzing with life from that iridescent orange carcass canister betwixt red raw robo areola. Head's in rude health with the wonderful Seeker standard box helmet and carefully crafted countenance. And can I get a hell yeah for the triumphant return of light piping? Seriously, it's been basically absent for so long that I've seen people react to it like it's new. So the proportions are wonderfully long and lithe, seeming somewhat spookily stretched with the shoulder skyscrapers and lengthy legs. I actually really appreciate the limbs on this thing. The general posability is super slick, and it all seems so considered, you know? Like, the arms are alarmingly problem-free, boasting an embarrassment of joints and weapon ports with elbows so deep they practically bend back in on themselves. And like, there's no kibble or horrible empty bits for me to have to make excuses for. Similar story with the legs. They look amazing and move like mother humpers. And check this out, they've got these little bouncy sections behind the knees which can collapse in to accommodate the transformation, as well as those crucial flying Sagat knee attacks, and then they just proing back out again to fill out the look. Isn't that great? Only thing is the feet are very strange, very tippy-toesy. They're almost like hooves. But for stability and posing, I just can't fault them. So shut up. Anyway, round the back, old Jeffrey Starscream's got some triple boosters on the go for that Astro Train chic. And check out these giant, sprawling vampire cape wings. Now, I don't want to start too much drama about these. It's not like they ruin it or whatever, but there are problems. To their credit, they're wonderfully versatile. I love how simply they work. They're just on a swivel that's on a hinge. But they are a bit uggo on the front side. Like, there's plenty of detail on the go, but it all just looks so necessary and structural. It's just too many ridges, too little colour, and look at this pathetically tiny Decepticon emblem. Mate, there comes a point where you should have just not bothered. It's Starscream, we all know he's a baddie, right? And is it me, or is that the movie version? I know those slightly wrong eyes. Also, the wings are weirdly translucent. They're certainly strong enough for purpose, and they feel good and sturdy, but they still let through a ton of light, which is the last thing I need when I'm trying to show off the best light piping they've given us for years. But look, let's not get too hung up on that, okay? This is a gorgeous figure that does almost everything right. It oozes attitude, poses like a dream, make the homies say ho, make the girlies want to scream. Starscream, that is. Was that a joke? Transformation's definitely got me conflicted over whether it's good or not, because it feels great when you're doing it. Like, the arms and legs fold up all tidy and slick and tight. The backpack unfurls into a gorgeously smooth fuselage. But it's definitely a transformation powered by the cheat. Like, it is just the robot crumpling up as small as possible and then the kibble draping over it like a throw blanket. It makes no attempt whatsoever to marry up the cockpit and the chest plate, which is just boshed on the back, bold as brass. But don't worry too much, it'll happily pop off in your hand. And I do love how the shoulder columns swing majestically around to seamlessly form the nose cone, but that's literally the only bit with any interplay between the two halves. It's honestly wild how brazen it is. Anyway, let's talk about the alt mode. Now, because Siege is so committed to the whole Generation 1, Season 1, Episode 1, Scene 1, endless vortex of nostalgia, that of course required it to take on the unenviable design challenge of doing an official figure of the fabled Tetrajet mode, which was famously previously attempted by Impossible Toys, and to an extent by Hasbro themselves, both of which, I don't want to say flubbed it, but yeah, not great. So I was very keen to see how it'd get on this time. And yeah, I mean, the bit that is a Tetrajet is extremely not bad. Like, it's noticeably a lot rampier and more gradual than the harsh near-vertical walls of the cartoon Sky Pyramids. And I do certainly enjoy its swooshy form and lengthy nose cone and Star Destroyer-y grid lines. I love that it can stand on its butt for some launchpad realness or get the gun effects involved for a bit of booster blast. But it's just, there's a whole guy barely concealed under there. You know what, forget barely, it's just not concealed. I guess it does have the old Cybertronian get-out clause. How do you know that's not what they're supposed to look like? Have you actually been to Cybertron, mate? What do you mean, robot kibble? That's clearly just his portable keg of Fanta. But as a toy in my hand on the planet Earth, it looks goofy and it seems lazy. It even flunks the whole Siege guns galore death extravaganza by clumping all the weapon ports up in the same square millimeter. So overall, as a figure, old Ringo Starscream's kind of a half-satisfying, half-a-job knob job. I mean, I can't help but quite like it because of who I am as a person. And when it's doing what it does, it can be pretty wonderfully charming. Like, on the whole, the robot mode is pretty dynamite and absolutely kills it with the rest of the Siege gang. But that transformation thoroughly cheeses it, and so much of what's going on is so unavoidably dubious. It's friggin' dubious Caesar. And I really wanted to love it, so I could say it was the scream of the scrop. The screm de la screm. But as it is, it's just kind of scrambled eggs. He's screm at own ass. But regardless of quality, it's a Starscream, innit? So obviously it gets free reign to sire its own squadron of Seeker spawn. So from here on in, it's all about the cosmetics, baby. Let's take a dip into the shallow waters of the Sea of Siege Seekers. The Sea Curge. So yes, next up is Thundercracker, everybody's second favourite palette swap planeman, looking lovely and lush in his deeply blue royal hue, and I'm not sure if it's too blue? Well, I don't know about you, but I like my crackers with a healthy spread of silver and red, like a gleamy Union Jack. But in his humanoid mode, he's just got these pathetic little undersized underwing stripes and some sleepy grey and black boringness to break up the blue. It does kinda come to life once we hit the alt mode, so that's something, I guess. Bit of minor visage variation on the go. Check out that cheeky smirk. Oh, how it pains him to do this. Does feel a little out of place on old Thunderbuns, though. He's the uncertain one, right? Shouldn't he be a bit more ponderous and morose? I feel like he'd be much better suited to Starscream's expression of, I guess, non-committal distaste. And it'd probably be pretty easy to swap these over, but who has time? Also, all of these lads come with a pair of colour-matched arm weapons, which are designed distinctly more machine gunny than the classic needle zappers or girthy shoulder shooters. Thundercracker's ones are blue. That's kind of it for him, really. I always feel a bit weird talking about Thundercracker because I do have a lot of love for him and I feel like there should be more to say. But mainly it's just I like him because he's blue and it looks nice. Is that alright with you? Oh boy, it's my boy! Yes, mate, Skywarp soars onto the scene as an awkward US-only online Amazon exclusive. Pretty shocking that there's 7 of these bloody things and only 2 are available normally. So, Skywarp came as part of a fancy $50 gift pack called the Phantomstrike Squadron, awesome, which was just him and 3 Battle Masters, which I was initially pretty steamed about. Like, can't I just have Skywarp? Who cares about Battle Masters? Boring. But then it turned out that one of them's a battle axe that turns into a pterodactyl, and it's called Pterodactyl, and now that's the only thing I care about in the world. And, you know, bias notwithstanding, this is a really fun set. Like, Pterodactyl kicks ass. You've got 2 regular target mastery bloat bots, Fracas and Shroot, or in the correct English, Fracas and Gareth. The UV's completely nuts, and because the team's made up of your main guy with a couple of pint-sized dudes and like a flying dinosaur monster thingy, it just gives it a really fun vibe, like a little Soundwave squad. By the way, a lot of purple in Siege, I'm into it. The only thing that kind of bugs me is, sadly, Skywarp himself. He just looks a little bit washed out and charcoaly. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, I'd still love him, can't regret getting the set. But without that delicious deep black and sharp slices of silver, he just seems a little bit off his game. But still, I mean, Skywarp's like pizza. And even though Siege has served us a pretty thin slice of 1 cheese margarita with extra crust, I'm still gonna chomp it down. I'll manage. But the sides were delicious. Now, let's venture beyond the original trilogy and out into the extended Starscream universe. Yes, indeed, moving into the wider Seeker system, Siege first hits us with a cheeky repaint threefer, or 3-paint, but rather than take the predictable path of a slight remold for the Coneheads, we instead go for a triple pack of single episode, single colour nobodies known as the Rainmakers. And a 3-pack of Voyagers. That's going to be a nice cheap treat. Cheeky impulse pickup for the kids. So yes, here we go with the US-only Target-exclusive Rainmakers, comprising Storms Acid, Nova, and Ion, all of whom are looking slightly Poundlandy in their eyeball accosting and shockingly simplistic non-paint jobs. But that's how they looked in the show. Look, we're the ones who are always twatting on about G1 accuracy, but in this case, I think we would have allowed for some artistic license, right? No, not like that. We'll begin then with Acid Storm, who's by far the most high-profile Rain Brain because he, and sometimes she, has had a figure before, ever. And this is certainly a ghastlier guy, or gal, than the 2008 version's muted military forest friend colours, and I cannot lie, I love him. Or possibly her. Because Acid Storm's whole thing is being the green one, and that's literally all this is a green one. I know it's basic and cheap and obvious, but my eyes like it and it makes my brain do a happy. What do you want from me? And I could say basically the same thing for Nova Storm, so I'm gonna. I cannot lie, I love him. Or possibly her. Because Nova Storm's whole thing is being the yellow one, and that's literally all this is a yellow one. I know it's basic and cheap and obvious, but you get the idea. Sadly, I can't in all good conscience repeat that gag again for Ion Storm, because we've already got a blue one, and he's way better looking than you, Buster. It just seems so redundant for there to be 2 blue dudes. Or Toods Blues. And poor old Ion Storm's even less nuanced than Thundercracker, and doesn't even have Acid and Nova's neon shock value. I guess you could say that this soothing blanket of cozy blandness gives you a nice opportunity to appreciate all the subtleties of the sculpting, which honestly is super impressive, like underbase level. But like, do you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember when Mastermind Creations did their whole steampunk Dracula Seekers and released that one version in solid, unpainted grey plastic? What was the point of that? And what's the point of Ion Storm? So I can't slate the Rain Train too much, because I do like them on a basic level, but I can't help but feel I'm being condescended to. I mean, not only do they represent the most primally exploitative aspect of toy collector culture, the shameless no-effort repaint multi-pack, which, yes, it is something I entertain, but I'm always sure to make fun of it so that you know that I know what a hypocrite I'm being. But as a group, especially in alt mode, you can't help but be suckered in by these lively-ass kindergarten colours. It just cuts straight through to my toddler brain, like, yeah, well, green blue, that shit is hardwired, and they know it. So they did a red one as well. Red Wing? That's a made-up character, but I suppose aren't they all? Starscream, that's a made-up character. So we'll wrap up this Flyboy Fiesta with another US-only Target exclusive. The Generation Select Limited Edition repaint Red Wing, who I'm guessing is a sort of G1 version of Armada Starscream, or like Shatter? I don't know. It doesn't matter who he is. He's a red guy. Or possibly gal. A red one. But But he does at the very least have a proper paint job, looking sharp as shit with the righteous red, deep blacks that Skywarp was aching for, and cheeky bright gleamy whites, albeit with a sort of chalky Tipex-y quality. Gotta tell you, I'm properly into Red Wing. He just looks legit, man, like one of the gang who was there all along, standing just out of frame with Nitro Zeus and Lugnut. He looks good as hell, and he can definitely work that smirk. Although it does look a little spooky in pure white instead of the usual neutral silver, and with weirdly not red amber light piping. Amber light piping, that's my new drag name. Mind you, he'd be doing a lot better if it went for these bloody siege smudge marks. It's just so difficult to ignore. Like, he's the only one who's been splattered in 2 different complementary colours. Oh, 3 different colours. And it's also pretty hard not to notice that it's the same pattern on every single one of them. I don't mean to rattle on about it, but I just wish so much they hadn't done that. Like, who wins? What benefit does it bring? It looks bad now and it'll look bad later. Especially with Red Wing, this is his first figure. Lay off him. Anyway, sidebar, I have to say I'm enjoying Generation Select so far. I really like that Hasbro are being a bit more hands-on with the nerdy repaints now that the Collectors Club and BotCon are a bit the big one. I mean, I don't want to appear to be grave dancing or whatever, but like, we still get all the cool obscure characters. They're only really a few quid more than the regular ones, and on more than one occasion I've seen them in shops, just on shelves. So we can sit here and drag Red Wing all day for being a superfluous, unimaginative repaint, but at least he's not $110. And that's all the weather. You know, even after a handful and a half of this thing, I'm still not totally sure where I am on it. As a figure, it's probably a flat 6 out of 10. Extremely competent in a lot of respects, but bumblingly naff in others. But they do just have that Decepticon magic. They look rad as a gang, and so far they're definitely the best Tetrajets out there. And in any case, they've certainly quelled my appetite for jet formers for a little while, if not for good. I mean, after slowly collecting all the Deluxe Seekers over a decade, it was certainly a pretty thrilling and honestly kind of shameful experience to scoop up all this lot in 4 months. So I look forward to not having to buy any more of them for at least a couple of years. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no! Would you take PayPal? So huge thanks to longtime friend of the show, Brentosaur, for being an absolute bro and hooking me up with the 4 Target lads. But in lieu of his own SoundCloud, Brent's asked me to big up my local hearing loss charity. That's Hearing Link. Please do consider supporting them, or the equivalent in your region. And until next time, party on. Random patron shout out! Oh, that was exhausting. Alright, big thanks to everybody who's watching, happy holidays and such, and mega thanks to Madeline Dion for supporting the show. Christ the Lord!
Be sure to subscribe for more Thew's awesome Transformers reviews. Limited appeal, keeping it real.